What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, and judging from this ridiculous hat I am wearing, it is Christmas time. Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to whatever you guys are celebrating during this time of year. Now, on this day last year, I did review a movie, and I'm not sure if I'll make this an unofficial tradition since I'm just so happening to be reviewing another movie on Christmas Day, but in any way, this is a bit of a Christmas treat from me to you because I am reviewing The Revenant, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Donald Gleason, and Will Poulter, and is directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu. Now, the plot follows Hugh Glass, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, an American frontiersman living in the 1820s who, while on a hunt, is mauled by a bear and left for dead by his companions, led by John Fitzgerald, played by Tom Hardy. Miraculously, Glass does rise in turn from the dead and is out for revenge. To put this bluntly, this was one of my most anticipated movies of 2015, and I was so lucky to have seen it early. Two big reasons why I wanted to see it so badly. One, the concept. Leonardo DiCaprio getting revenge on Tom Hardy. Sold immediately there. And also, the second reason, I've really become a bigger and bigger fan of this director every time I've seen more of his movies, Alejandro González Iñárritu, who last year especially won me over big time with Birdman, one of my absolute favorite movies of 2014, which went on to win several Oscars, not only Best Original Screenplay and Best Director for Iñárritu, but also Best Picture. Really well deserved right there, and it also won Best Cinematography for Emmanuel Lubezki, who returns here for The Revenant as Iñárritu's DP. So with all that being said and done, with everything that's come together, I finally saw this movie. But how was it? Let's run down the whole thing. Simply put, Leonardo DiCaprio delivers such a triumphant performance here in this movie. It is among the very best he has ever given throughout his long library of films that he's acted in. I really think that he needs to get nominated for Best Actor and makes a very good case for himself to win finally this time for a multitude of reasons, but I'll just simply sum it up like this. The visceral nature of this movie brings out what vulnerability that DiCaprio really has as Hugh Glass, not only in his physical appearance as he gets beaten to hell, not just by the bear he gets mauled initially by, but just from nature and other impending enemies in the frontier. Just the sheer terror he brings into his eyes expresses a wide range of emotions. His appearance, again, really grim in how he gets beaten up so badly, but just his determination to want to get revenge all throughout this movie. He doesn't even say much either, but again, with the emotions, you see it in his eyes, in his face, in his body language, because of how really beat up he has been, that he wants revenge. This is a tour de force performance. The same can definitely be said to the other supporting players here. Tom Hardy, what a year he has been having. Between this movie and this film, he has just been bringing his A game just like DiCaprio's been for a long time. Hardy in this movie does play John Fitzgerald, the guy who does leave Glass for dead, and he is just chilling in his performance. He is menacing. He really is unpredictable in his actions because of how creepy this guy is. The way he talks, the way he looks, just everything and what Hardy brings to this performance really made me go, ugh. Also, Donald Gleason, another great year this guy has been having. Between Ex Machina, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and this film, he is another actor that I've truly admired over a brief amount of time. He plays a major who is along the expedition with Glass and Fitzgerald, and he does a pretty good job in the screen time he brings as well. And the last big player I have to mention goes to Will Poulter. Now, I haven't seen this guy really act in many movies since the first Maze Runner last year, but he really brings it out his true acting ability with a wider range of just emotion and just ability to be able to bring it in any one of these movies. He plays a young hunter who is along for the ride with these other characters, and he is truly vulnerable as well because he doesn't know all that much of what to do with a big situation like this with Glass being injured. I just love this cast all around. The plot here is almost too intense to even believe. Apparently this movie is based in part from a novel, which in turn was based inspiringly so from true events. It didn't keep me from really enjoying this movie from how it really turned out in real life, because just how on edge you were always in for as watching this film. This movie runs pretty long too, a little over 2.5 hours or around that time, but it never gets boring. And what this story does tell is something that is out of classic westerns, but also tells a story of just revenge above all else, and it's just brutal to watch everything go by. I am not kidding. If you have a weak stomach, I'm not sure if you'll really enjoy it, but if you can stomach all that, this is worth taking all those risks for in watching the film. Every human in this movie is vulnerable, not just from nature, but from their own selves as well, because they're all essentially prey. And just as DiCaprio gets mauled by that bear, it comes to the realization throughout this movie. Oh yeah, speaking of that bear scene, which will go into the further technical elements of this movie. One word: horrifying. The way this scene is played out is a true achievement in my mind. And just the creativity that goes behind all that is a wonder to behold. That goes for the rest of the movie visually as well. This movie was actually shot on location in pretty much a lot of really authentic looking settings, because I've been following a lot of the behind the scenes stories that have gone down with this movie. There have been many problems that have gone on shooting this movie. What do I think of all that? It was totally worth it. This is one of the most beautiful movies I've seen, not just this year, but in a very long time. It also goes back to the very genius work that Chivo Lubezki does accomplish with pretty much every movie he shoots for, but with the real locations. This movie also does have some action. Not a lot of it because it's not a very hardcore action movie, but with this movie, stuff goes down really intensely. Intense, that's the big word to describe this movie, like I've mentioned before. And it is just gruesome to witness all of this happen. The music I also really enjoyed, the production design, the visuals, all of it comes together to an experience that looks as real as it could have happened probably back in the 1820s. Of course, I was not around to see all that happen, but if I were to imagine if the 1820s frontier would look like that, I would point to this movie as being my basis for how it would all look. It just looks so marvelous. It comes together into such a complete experience that I'm still thinking about even briefly after I've just seen this movie, and it will stay with me for a long while after. My final thoughts on this movie are that DiCaprio delivers such a phenomenal performance that it is among the best in his career and makes a truly great case for himself to finally win the Best Actor Oscar this time around. The rest of the performances are just as fantastic. The amazing technical merits that go along with this movie are so awe-inspiring to just behold. The gorgeous cinematography from the genius known as Chivo Lubezki. You've done it again, sir. The on-location shooting, just the visual nature of this movie and being intense in its pacing, brutal visually, and how grotesque everything all goes down. Even the little details that go with this movie, from the dialogue feeling authentic, and even the fact that it uses natural light. I can't believe I forgot to mention that earlier. That must have been so difficult to use. But with all the odds that have been stacked against this movie while shooting, Iñárritu and company have made for another experience that shows why I love film so much, because I am in for something that truly has me sucked in every way possible when I watch a film. This is the second film, in my opinion, that, yes, I will declare is another masterpiece from this director and creative team. I just adore this movie. I cannot recommend it more highly enough, and this will definitely end up among my favorite movies, my absolute favorite movies of 2015. My final verdict for The Revenant is 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of The Revenant, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.